Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Chris Carr. On behalf of the I&I Tractor and Gas Engine Club, we'd like to welcome you to the dedication this morning. I don't know how we can thank Debbie Jeremiah any more than just give her a big hand to start with. She's going to go ahead and carry on. Again, we'd like to thank you for coming to this dedication, and we're looking forward to the years to come as we change and keep making this building back to what it was. Debbie.
Thank you so much. It was in the end of 2014 that we started to talk to Dick about receiving this beautiful gift, and it took us until last August to get our schoolhouse moved here. It was a big project, and it missed the show last year by 2 weeks. So if you were here last year, we dedicated the whole and the picture. And we were excited about that even. So this is wonderful to be here now today and turn around and have this in a perfect setting for the Rural America Museum and what we want to exemplify about that lifestyle. So with us today is Chuck Stelter. Thank you. He's our president. So I'd like him to say a few words.
Thank you, everyone. I would like to thank the Lukens family for their donation of the school. It is an ongoing project. Hopefully by next year we'll have most of it done and be able to give tours and everything of the school. Not only is the I&I Antique Tractor Club about the preservation of antique farm machinery, but we are also about the preservation of that way of life from years ago. That's why it is so important for us to have saved the log cabin and to save this one-room schoolhouse. Thank you, Debbie.
Thank you, Chuck. And now I'd like to thank the family. They're having a family reunion here this year so that they could all get together and view what they remember in their childhood as a fun place in the woods that Mom and Grandma moved and saved and stored her things in. But we have the family among us here. They're from all over the country, gathered together in Penfield. What a big event for them. They've got to go inside and tour what we've done so far, which is just shore up the flooring. So as Chuck said, we're hoping next year then to have an open house with everything finished, and you can tour that. But I'd like to introduce the children of Gene Lukens, who saved the schoolhouse from destruction in the 60s. I've got Dick Harding here. There's Dick. I have Jim Harding. Okay. Sandy Benson. Okay. Sandy. Okay, very good. Jennifer Gallagher. And David Lukens. Okay. And they all signed off very nicely to send us the schoolhouse. I think we paid them. It was $1.
I never got the dollar.
You did? Oh, yeah.
I never got the dollar. I didn't get my cut.
Well, it was paid to Bill Scott, so you're going to have to see him.
After his fee, we probably still have money. His fee was free. I guess his fee was
So I'd like to call any of them forward of the family that have a remembrance that they'd like to share with us, something they remember from the schoolhouse days.
I'll go first. I'm Dick Harding. Okay. I'm as bad as her. Yeah. Is that better? All right. Our mom rescued this schoolhouse from just off of Maplewood, I think in 1961, and she was a lifetime school teacher. And so she just could not. I mean, the farmer wanted to tear it down and use the land just for farming, and she said, I can't have you do that. So she had it moved over to our place. But all through the years, she was kind of unhappy with the fact that no one ever got to see it. Because over the years, the trees grew up. You couldn't even see it from the road. So when the opportunity came to donate the school, she was still with us, and she was really excited that there would be someone who actually could take care of the place, restore it, because it just wasn't happening where it was. And it was getting to the point where it wouldn't have been too many more years, and it would have been gone. Unfortunately, we lost Mom last October, so she didn't actually get to see a picture of it here on the property. But I know she's really, really happy that you all got it. And I'm tickled with the progress you've made this year. Wow. Because I know that everybody was really busy, so I was actually shocked to see that everything inside the floor and everything's done. Thank you so much. And that's all I have. If there's any of family members that want to say something, please do.
Hi, my name's David Lukens. I probably don't need this mic because everybody tells me I talk too much anyway. But yeah, we used to come down here and play in the schoolhouse when we were little kids. And what I think I was telling Deb is I said, I remembered there was always that hole up in the attic, going up the attic, which is, I don't know, a good 15, 20 feet up. And we were always curious as little kids what was up in there. So one day we dragged down a rickety wood ladder and climbed up to the roof, or climbed up to the attic to see what's in there, because I somehow expected there to be, I don't know, a bunch of treasure, really, really valuable stuff I'd find up there. All right, I'd find a bunch of stuff. Though there was a bench up there, but we didn't find much else other than spanking for climbing up the ladder. But one of my mom's thing was, the entire time I grew up, is that Mom always wanted to restore the schoolhouse and see it back. We would always look at farm auctions for things like inkwells or old books, anything like that, because her goal was eventually to see this thing restored to its original shape. And that's what you guys are doing now, which is what my mother would have really wanted. Thank you.
I have a couple odd disconnected memories. I remember when we actually moved it, it had a fieldstone, white fieldstone foundation, and they can correct me if I'm wrong, my memory's not that good, but I remember we took our trailer out there, and we were filling it with all these fieldstones, and I think we took about 2 trips and decided we're not going to use fieldstone, we're not going to put it back again. Anyway, and then I remember when we got it here, it was a boys and girls Johnny house. And we always kept a bag of lime in the one on this side. I don't know which one that was. And if we have to use the commode, we'd have to sprinkle some lime down there, to decompose it. Yeah. Anyway, but when we first got it, it was really in pretty good shape. Do you guys remember when the tornado went up one side of the roof and left a path of the tornado? It hit our neighbor's garage and parallelogrammed it, and then it kind of sent the tornado up, and we could see all the cedar shakes on one side were just missing. Now, I think before we put the roof on there was when a lot of the water damage was done in here, wouldn't you say? But those are kind of my recollections. I mean, we used it for storage, and I know Mom always wanted to restore it, and so we are so happy you all are pulling together and doing this.
I'm Sandy Harding Benson, and I remember going with my folks over to where the schoolhouse was originally located. I was too young to pay much attention to what they were doing. I just remember it had trees around it, and I do remember the flagstones, but they just negotiated and talked, and I just played around, and my mom told me not to get into trouble. And then it got moved, and I do remember going in it, but I was never the adventurous type. I did not climb up into the attic or crawl underneath it or anything like that. My daughter, when she was older, she came up to visit Mom, and one of their jobs was to go in and just kind of clean it up. And the raccoons had been in there, so they had a lot of great cleanup work to do. So anyway, I also remember the blackboard, which is actual slate. When we got it, the alphabet was written in a very beautiful old-fashioned calligraphy or cursive or whatever, and my mother would never allow us to touch where that was written. And I don't think anybody ever did. I just think over the years it just gradually flaked off. So anyway, but if you look really closely, up at the top you can still see some of the letters, what's left of them.
Jennifer? Okay. Well, Jennifer doesn't have anything to add, but she brought me a book that belongs in the schoolhouse. It's an atlas from the old years, so we're going to treasure this. But I also reminded me to ask all of you who've ever gone to a one-room schoolhouse or your grandparents on back, if you have any photos or books or anything, inkwells would be good. If you have any little things that belong here, you could visit them once a year. So we would be sure, accepting donations. I'd also like to point out we have a donation box too, that if you would like to help, if one-room schoolhouses mean a lot to you, maybe you're a teacher or you grew up in a rural setting, we would sure appreciate donations to help us also. So thank you for the family to...
Were you able to locate any other one-room schoolhouses that were original like this in Illinois?
We're going to sometime visit a schoolhouse in southern Illinois. There's about 6 or 8 of us that would like to go. That's already a museum. So we're going to get a lot of ideas, I think, from them for next year to tell you. So thank you, family, for all of your insight and enjoyable memories and stories. And now I'd like to introduce Kenny Knight. He's been the construction man that has put a lot of work into this already. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Kenny Knight, and John Benzo helped me, and I had 2 grandsons and a son that helped me. We worked 3 weeks, not hard, 3 or 4 hours a day or whatever it took, and it was quite a job because the east side of the building had rotted plumb off from the beams and everything, and when they poured the footing and the new walls, they was able, the plate hung over a little bit on the inside, so we was able to go in there with 2 batons and lay them on that plate to reinforce them walls without having to tear out them beams under them walls, because it was going to be a pretty good job to do that. As we went to tearing it out and everything, we got up towards the front. We uncovered where there had been a fire in it, and it burnt 2 beams pretty near all the way in 2. And they had scabbed onto them and covered them up and then put a new floor on top of it. Everything's, there's a pillar down through, a beam down through the middle. When they poured the footings for the outside, they poured beams or pads, yeah. So there's a beam that goes down through the middle, and it's like 9 foot on center, So then we run 2 batons from each side, 12 foot long, and hung onto it. We put over 50 of them in it. They're 16-inch on center. Then we put subfloor is 3/4. We put over 25 sheets in it. So we have a pretty good base now to do what the walls need to be taken down now, and it gives them something to work on. This all started, Kelly stopped me last year at the show, and Kenny, got a project for you. Yeah. Of course, I've done a lot of work around here, and Kelly has too, so we put it off. Well, I thought I'd do it during the winter, but it just didn't happen on it. I talked to a friend of mine that went to school here. He went 8 years, he had 3 different teachers. He said when he was naughty one time, there was a hole in the blackboard up there, and I think it's still there. He had to go put his nose in there and stand there with his nose in the blackboard. My mother was a one-room school teacher way back, Brown School, Bismarck area, until she started having children. I'm one of 8, so that pretty well done her teaching in on it. If there's any further questions, you can defer them to John Bizzle or me or Donald Trump. Thank you.
Nice job, Kenny.
Hello, my name's John Schmidt, and about a week ago I was asked to replace siding on this east side about 5 boards up where they had to remove it to replace the floor and beam in there and stiffen that all up in there. So that took about a day or less, and I got to looking the school over, and I thought, man, that really, really, really needs some paint on it before the show. So I went to Jane Pyatt and asked her, was there money available for painting? And she said, I don't know what's left in the school budget or whatever, but let me check. About 10 minutes later, she come back and said, go after it. So I got a couple of friends, club members here to help me, and we started out, we was going to pressure wash the building and paint it, and I had that all visualized, which I do a lot of times in my age, thinking I was going to do that in one day, and it didn't happen. They started pressure washing it, and they said, this isn't getting it. So I had a little angle head grinder with a wire brush on it, and they started in, and we cleaned this whole south end and the east side in one day, and I had my airless here, and I sprayed it, and I was going to come back on Tuesday, and then it rained, or on Wednesday, and spray the other 2 sides, but it rained, so that knocked that in the head, and the lady said, that's all right, they can see before and after, so that's why it's like it is right now. I have 3 children that are all school teachers, and so I thought I ought to do my part on trying to repair the school. Thank you very much.
Well, this has been very interesting today, and I appreciate your part in it. But now we want to look to the future. We've looked to the past, and now I want to look to the future. So I'd like our museum curator to come forward and give you her vision of what this is going to look like next year, what she thinks she'd like to do with this space. This is Jane Beerbaum.
Thank you. When our I&I Club moved to Penfield in 1996, this area here had a lot of trees. It was a great area because we had no trees hardly anywhere else. But unfortunately, over time, those trees had weathered a lot, and a few of them had to be taken down. I think it's so fitting that in this area, we have recycled trees in our log cabin and in our school. One of my visions for this club and these grounds was to have a little village in this area. Now, we own the church, we own a log cabin, and the one-room school. I'm not sure what the vision for any other activity in this area, but I'll bet we'll find some project to do. So next year, we do hope to have the inside finished so that you can take a tour. I even have one of our members who said he would even be a guide for us, so we're looking forward to that. We just like to get more activity down in this area during the show, and I often give museum tours. A lot of the museum is in the big school, but now we can even take our visitors down in this area and open up these buildings. So we do appreciate all of you being here, and stay tuned to the next project.
We have also acquired now, as a visionary item, Dick Harding was instrumental in finding us a merry-go-round. The one that was about 15 feet tall, and the metal came down, and it looks like a maypole and goes around. It looks very dangerous. You probably rode on those. Yeah, I don't know that we can get it okayed to let any kids on that today because it would be far too dangerous. But I have pictures of it. We're going to redo that, and it'll be out here next year too. So we're really got some good ideas, we've got some good help, and we appreciate your support. Thank you very much for coming today. Appreciate it. Oh, we have a bus here. Jane knows about it. Oh, no, Jane doesn't.
I do have one other thing to add. I think it's very important to note the log cabin that is here was initiated by Kelly Berkey. The one-room schoolhouse was initiated by his daughter, Debbie Jeremiah.
Thank you. Tell us all about it.
Okay. on the old school hack over here. I'm John Hahn. I'm from north of West Lafayette. Went to school at Battleground. My dad actually produced that body from the original company blueprints, and they're made in Delphi, Indiana. The company is still owned by the Bradshaw family. They make line bodies for telephone trucks and that kind of stuff, service trucks. But when they had their 150 year, they called my dad and said, would you please bring the bus up and set in our showroom? And it's so much correct like it should be that they think it's pretty special. So anytime at Delphi, Indiana has any kind of celebrations, I get a call, and if I got time, I take the bus to Delphi and show it. But my dad passed 2 years ago at the age of 95, and in the first and second year of school, he rode on a bus like that. Well, in 1959, he started messing with Model T cars, and he thought about it, and he said he'd been to shows all over the Midwest and had never seen a school hack. Well, in about 1930 or 31, Indiana outlawed the wooden bodies and made them go to metal. So my dad said all these old bodies were taken off. The kids, they made playhouses out of them, the chicken coops and that kind of stuff. They just all rotted and never was preserved. So that's why it's not an original. But it was built in 1977, so it's pretty close to 40 years old. Never been repainted, and I don't think it's ever been rained on. If we go to a show where they're forecasting rain, we take a tent and set up under a tent. But we've had a lot of enjoyment out of it. And I read in the farm world that they were going to dedicate the schoolhouse, and I thought, well, it's a good spot for the hack to be. And another thing, we were at a show over in Iowa with it, and a lady kind of walked around it, and she said, you know, the kids had to ride to school in that. There's no heater or nothing, you know, for wintertime. My dad said, well, we had 3 choices. He said, we could walk, we could ride a horse, or we could get on that bus. And he said, I like the bus. So.
I appreciate that. That really added some interest to the story, yes. I'd like to mention also that Abraham Lincoln is here over in the log cabin, and although he wasn't alive when this was built, he did give me the name of some historical societies that preserved one-room schoolhouses, so he's been very helpful. You'll have to visit him today. Anybody else have anything else to add? It's only 70 degrees here. We could last forever out here. So I just hope you enjoy the show. You've been a wonderful audience. Thank you for your interest, and we look forward to talking to anybody that would like to about it. Thank you.